going to be Sylas. Could be picked for the top lane here. As is that mid lane Kennen? That would be weird.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be...
Should be mid lane. But I mean, stealing away Shockwave is actually one of the worst ultimates that you can steal because it's always a hula hoop.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to take it for later game and team fights and stuff like that because there are a lot of great ultimates to steal. I mean,
Yeah.
the Forge God, the Shockwave isn't fantastic, but you've also got Subjugate, you've got the Arrow, even Abyssal Voyage can have utility. I don't mind it. Sylas is slowly rising in priority and presence here in the LCK at the same time. We saw yesterday that Sylas can be pretty good at times, and
I mean, that was Showmaker.
Yeah, that was Showmaker, you know. But Kuro, he had a good game, a pretty free one at that, but maybe he's a little bit warmed up here. Don't mind the draft here from the side of SANDBOX. They have, we talked about how Aphelios can almost force you to draft a certain way, and it feels like every tool in their toolbox here does have one way to handle Aphelios.
There are definitely anti-Aphelios tools. You're exactly right. So we'll see whether Aiming is going to have a decent game. He was one of our better Aphelios when he was first released, but has since shied away from it. He's been playing more of the Ezreals these days, and, what's his priority? Does actually like to play the Ashe a lot more than the Aphelios, so we'll see whether he understands this side of the matchup just as well as he knows the other. But SANDBOX, I mean, this is a much better draft. It's nowhere near the kind of draft win that we saw out of KT in Game 1. So KT are just going to have to straight up be the better team this time instead of relying on superior drafting. So this is the kind of League of Legends that we want and that we expect from the LCK. And so SANDBOX now to see whether they can bring themselves back in this series.
Yeah, it does feel like KT got a kind of free draft in game number 1, where SANDBOX just kind of let them have it. And this time around, it's not nearly the same. Their draft is definitely sinning quite a lot on the side of KT, that is. They're going to struggle to find flanks. SANDBOX have a ton of control in their draft. And again, ways to get onto the Aphelios, who is going to be a lot of the damage for that team in the late game. I'm curious to see how much work SoHwan can get done. We mentioned how red side Kennen isn't amazing with flanks, but he is a great Kennen player. So maybe he can find the angles to get the engages down. Orianna and Ashe are not very mobile, but they have Tahm Kench near them. Overall, it does feel like SANDBOX have won this draft. I feel like it is pretty obvious. Maybe not as obvious as Game 1, but still does feel pretty obvious that SANDBOX ran away with Game 2 here. Or at least in the draft. I don't want to say the game just yet.
Yep. And look, KT will have ways that they can find success here. And if they utilize their composition in the most pro-Aphelios way, because they do have peeling tools, right? Like, they have the Thresh with the Flay and also the reposition like we've already gone over. But Slicing Maelstrom can be used for peel. It can be used to try and make sure that Aiming has space if you sit on top of him and press your R button. And bonO will also have the kick to try and avoid the ball carrier coming in and causing a ruckus with the Shockwave. So, I mean, Aiming will just have to see whether he can actually stand up and be the Aphelios that we know he's capable of here in this game. Because, I mean, we talk about it all the time. The possibility of the amount of years coming out of this guy is always going to be there. But whether or not SANDBOX can keep him down is going to be the question. And this time, they've got a draft that isn't just an insta-lose, which feels good.
Yeah, should be a much more even game this time around. Game 1 was, it did feel over once KT got ahead, and that's not necessarily the kind of League of Legends we want to watch. It's a very slow one.
Yep, Aiming, having to deal with these minions underneath his turret for the minute that you can see will be able to even out the CS very nicely up against Root and Gorilla, as we are panning all the way. Wow, that's a pretty damn value. Coming out of the old Hawkshot, I believe that we were following.
Yeah, always good to know where the Lee Sin is in case you want to stop him from sinning early on. And so far, bonO has not looked for any gank opportunities. He's just farming out his jungle. Notice that OnFleek came up to the top Scuttle Crab first with that knowledge from the vision that the Hawkshot gave him. So he was able to say, okay, he's going to path to the top side, try to go onto the top scuttler. So why don't I beat him there, and then I can go to the bottom side where he's not. That way I can get both scuttlers and get a nice little advantage here in the jungle matchup.
Yeah, really nicely played actually out of OnFleek. We will be able to deny all of that. Now down towards the bottom side, considering some sort of dive based on what the pings were looking at, but OnFleek's not exactly going to be sticking around as Gromp is going to respawn. And OnFleek will be able to take that one away. I believe it's a trade. No, it's not actually, as Lee Sin decided to go for the back instead. So Gromp on the left-hand side is going to be still up. And so OnFleek already a bit of a masterclass here in the jungle. As far as how to get around, avoid the Lee Sin, cause some troubles. As, all right, there's the abduct onto Fate as Kuro dealing with that clockwork wind-up. OnFleek in the right position to try and defend his Orianna, who is relatively low, but has been mainly able to control this mid lane and continue shoving forward. OnFleek turns up, and there is the free back timing for the Orianna.
Yeah, it's going to take some of the experience away from Fate. Doesn't take any of the gold, but it's not going to be too egregious there. bonO, unfortunately, is kind of one step behind at every turn. He's going to try to take one leap forward here and steal away the Krugs, which, of course, will be more gold, more XP as a jungle camp, so will be pretty good to steal away here. Something you can use Lee Sin's mobility to do.
Yep, and there's the safeguard to get him completely to safety. TusiN's going to land a hook onto Gorilla here, though, and there's the teleport. OnFleek trying to come forward. There's no kicks out as Kuro, in turret range, will be able to grab themselves the first blood. This is so valuable for KT, as Kuro was struggling in the lane. Now KT with their Aphelios comp, able to get themselves a slight advantage.
Yeah, that Q out of the Lee Sin bonO was something else. He was able to just get it in between multiple minions and champions and stuff and really squeeze through and get that extra bit of damage to make sure that that kill was secured. So, nice little play there. And, yeah, kind of just exploded from those teleports. They didn't try to make any play onto the Infernal Drake early after getting the kill, which is kind of interesting. I'm just going to let that one go for now, as here is the replay. See Gorilla and Root moving so far forward to try to force this one here. And they knew that bonO was also in the jungle, and that Q able to skirt all the way across, catch the Tahm Kench, who was out of position. No exhaust, no flash, as Gorilla does go down.
Yep, I'm really glad that Aiming had his Ashe/Varus weaponry available as well, pre-6. And that was able to help lock them down also. But TusiN really playing that one out beautifully. Lands the hook, double flay to follow up, and able to secure that kill. So, Root goes back, he collects himself a Vampiric Scepter, but it's a BF Sword start here for Aiming, as that back timing was really nice. And the Infernal Drake that you were talking about still going to be going begging. SoHwan looking for some extra damage here onto Summit. And Call of the Forge God will be coming out here. See whether that helps even out this particular trade, as Summit not going to get stunned up a second time. OnFleek going to turn up, though. This should be able to get themselves a flash. There's good positioning on the pillar. We'll guarantee that one. SoHwan can teleport back to this lane. So still, successful gank on the top side.
Yeah, bit of a mistake from SoHwan. I mean, you're going up against Catalyst and the Null Magic Mantle and 3 Biscuits. You're not going to do much damage to this guy right now with only Adorn's Blade before he went back and picked up the Haunting Guise.
Ooh.
And
first item, amazing.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice. We'll give him that. But definitely don't want to be using your Lightning Rush to get in the face of the Ornn, especially when you don't know exactly where the enemy jungler is. So definitely a mistake there from SoHwan. He gets punished. And bonO, he seems angry after getting kind of owned in the beginning of the jungle matchup. Now he's all in the face of OnFleek. He's taking a bunch of camps. He's getting the Infernal Drake early here. We'll be able to secure that, as Trundle was just busy trying to push mid again.
Yeah, SoHwan now looking for Fate as well. He does have Flash available. You can see SoHwan just going to try and push out the Orianna from the lane. Does so nicely and lands the last shuriken. Summit pushes this lane forward. He's going to build some stuff. But SoHwan should be able to make it back up there and still has that teleport available. So the Kennen getting around the map, doing some work. And I just need to keep you guys aware of the fact that SANDBOX have not managed to take a neutral objective so far this series. So probably looking for their first as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah, that wouldn't have caught that if you didn't mention it. That's kind of interesting. Doesn't happen all the time.
It's not a fun stat.
No, yeah, it's not going to be a feel-good one for SANDBOX. And Summit is being a menace, which is really annoying. And yeah.
Yep, Rift Scuttler going to go. That might mean that Shelly's going to be able to head over to SANDBOX for their first neutral objective of the series. There is a ward in the back of that pit, though, as Aiming's just looking to try and steal some plates, given the opportunity. And yeah, the Chakram's going to be doing some work also. And that's 2 plates for their troubles so far. And so Shelly's definitely going to have to do a hell of a lot of work if they're going to be able to answer this, as Arrow is going to connect. TusiN, will he actually have the lantern? He does. And Amy's going to be able to make it out. So Arrow not going to be giving SANDBOX quite the value that they were looking for, but it does allow them to secure that Rift Herald. So thankfully for SANDBOX, they're on the board when it comes to neutral objectives.
Yeah, able to pick that one up. And we get to see the power of Thresh, which is something we were mentioning in the draft. Part of the reason why we did like it better than some of the more aggressive options. It's great against Arrow, and we'll find a lot of value up against Pillar later on in the game, up against Call of the Forge God. Just that one ability for Thresh is going to be very effective. Summit being a bit of a bully. They know he doesn't have Flash. So they were trying to set this up, but it does look like SoHwan is aware of Summit's positioning, and so it will not work out.
Yep. And SoHwan actually playing some decent weak side Kennen, making sure that he always keeps himself safe so that any of these attempted ganks isn't going to work. And I say weak side, I mean it should be a winning lane for the Kennen, but it just hasn't been where KT have been playing around. And bonO now thinking about preparing for this Cloud Drake that's going to be up in 2 minutes' time. KT moving on in. And we might need to give that ward on the red buff a name, because it's been there for a real long time. Summit going to light SoHwan on fire, preparing for a potential teleport. As Aiming is snuck into this brush. TusiN looking to come down as there's the Moonlight Vigil. Root going to get taken down very low, but TusiN very, very close to landing that hook. Hair's breadth away from the wings on that particular Soraka Ashe skin. Blake moving on in here. Not going to be able to take down that ward, as you can see. A lot of control given over to KT on this bottom side of the map right now.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. I mean, the Ashe should have a lot of fun, but you get confused once the kill comes in and you get behind, and the Tahm Kench doesn't have any summoners to exert much power in the lane, and then the Ashe isn't able to do it all by herself up against those 2 members. And generally, you don't want to target the Ashe because it'll just get devoured, as here we go.
All right, yeah, bonO finds a kick onto Fate for some reason.
Did he mess up Kick Flash? He must have.
May have, yeah. Because that would have been a kill.
I think he just pressed it too late, or... No, the Flash came out of Fate.
Yeah, right.
So maybe he was predicting the Flash, and he's like, well, I'm not going to Flash myself. Let me just get the Flash.
Maybe not wanting to trade Flashes, but having the necessarily needing to, as Root's going to get devoured eventually. The box comes in, Root escapes from it, but unfortunately for Gorilla, he's not going to be able to. That is 2 kills now for KT, both of them onto the Catfish bottom side.
Yeah, Gorilla at least able to save Root, who was desperately out of position there. That's the second time they've been caught by the same members teleport. They should have the timer on that. They shouldn't be as far down the lane as they were. And they got punished for it 2 times in a row here, as there is a lot of pressure by the side of KT that is being exerted onto this bottom lane. Aiming just gonna be given all of the money. TusiN isn't even sticking around.
That's a teleport. Aiming should be able to grab this. As now Fate, after teleporting in, is looking to see what he can get done. TusiN very, very low as Aiming. Moonlight Vigil comes down. Fate, it's a 1-for-1 trade, but make that a 1-for-2 as SANDBOX do answer. So double teleports invested. They lose the turret. Don't know whether we're typing worth in all chat, but if SoHwan can get a bunch of plates up here, then maybe, just maybe, KT might be all right with this. And they do walk away with a decent advantage when it comes to the gold. But, yeah, going to be closed just a little bit. SANDBOX looking for their first dragon of the series.
It's a lot of gold that's split between 3 members down on the bottom side. Aphelios got all of the gold. He even got the individual turret gold for the first blood turret down there. Yeah. As TusiN was very selfless, gave it all over to his AD carry, Mr. Years. And that was definitely a good idea. Maybe if the Drake was something a little bit better that's not just one singular Cloud Drake, it would have felt a bit better for SANDBOX, but they get the Cloud and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, you know? They're still feeling not so good after that one. Even Kennen's able to get a lot of value on the plates up in the top side in the free farm. And double teleport used by SANDBOX, so does feel still like a pretty nice win here for KT.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at this team fight once again. The Shockwave was pretty good there onto TusiN to guarantee that kill. But like you were talking about, Mr. Years only able to get that 1 kill in return. He didn't flash. No, I probably just assumed that he was dead, right? Because Forge got pretty decent range. As, look, I think as well, I mean, now we've got Mountain Soul coming up as an availability. This could be a bailout for SANDBOX. If they can stabilize this game, stack up a few of those, I mean, think of the value that Ornn and Trundle will have, even Gorilla to a certain extent, on this Tahm Kench. He's going to be very happy with that one to try and mitigate some of the damage coming out of Mr. Aphelios, but same can be said over the side of KT, wanting to deny those defensive stats from the more tanky players on SANDBOX.
Look at the 80 carry difference right now in terms of gold, 1,600. And that's really, you know, it's the 2 ganks that came in that gave the CS advantage and also opened up all those plates for aiming. And the fact that all of that gold was individually given over to only aiming and not even shared by TusiN, no jungler was down there. He just took all of it. And we'll see how he'll be able to use it. I mean, he's trying to move towards his second item for now, but definitely stacking up the gold with the most here in this game.
Oh, hook gonna come in. That's a great box kick back, and that's a very easy kill onto the Trundle. Call of the Forge God does basically nothing. Aiming. He's sitting on Tristana and Ashe / Varus. Or Cogmore there, or just doing a lot of damage here. Maybe I should just call it Infernum.
Yeah.
I think LS calls that one Tristana. A lot of people call it.
I think it's Jinx.
Jinx?
Yeah, I think it calls it Jinx because, like, the rockets.
I feel like each of them can be 2 champions at once.
Pretty much, yeah.
Arrow, you're gonna.
That was confusing.
Hitbox?
Well.
Wait. That was his own arrow. Never mind. God, it's.
It's Sylas.
That would have 100%.
Yeah, it just looked really funny.
Oh, triggered.
And
scouting arrow.
Yeah, they're trying to desperately scout into the river for Shirley, who we all know is not nearly as cool as Shelly. I mean, she is very late to the party. Yeah, you know, too late, not even fashionably late. She gets there after all the plates are down. Shirley has a lot less value than Shelly does, specifically because of the plates, and they just went in there and, you know, gave their jungler's life over desperately trying to scout for that objective when they could have just given it away. Struggling to talk.
Yeah, got there in the end.
After some of the, you know, slow starts here in this series.
Well, for this next Mountain Drake fight, KT are well and truly prepped. Leandri's is done. They've got Super Soaker for Kuro, but most importantly, the first 2 items are completed for aiming. And I mean, this Runan's, the current form that Root has right now is just double daggers. It's a huge lead for aiming. We already mentioned it based on the gold, but you can see what it's done as far as where they are, as far as their item builds. And there's a big spike now for KT. Still, they do need to get position around this Drake, and SANDBOX do have good vision on their side of the map at least. So I'm going to push up. TusiN looking to clear. Now with 40 seconds to go, it's a possibility as bonO. He's going to be all right. Still has Shirley, and will be able to throw her down to make sure that she can persuade SANDBOX to not move towards this dragon.
Yeah. And this is what normally happens with Shirley, the second Rift Herald, is that you throw it down and you're able to chunk out mid-tier 1 and hopefully take it.
Damn, the Leandri's burn is actually doing a lot of work there on the summit.
Yeah.
Fair bit of damage there. As
really
the
awesome.
is actually taken, wow.
It's a really awesome item decision against Summit specifically with the Abyssal Mask, right? He's going to have a lot of health and the MR, and you can just slowly tick him down as here we go.
Arrow attempted to be avoided there by SoHwan, but look at that. They're able to peel, and they have a Lantern to get him out without taking any damage. The Kennen going to be able to wrap around, look for a flank, and SANDBOX want nothing of it. KT will be able to lock down the first Mountain Drake of the game. TusiN still able to scout forward, aiming, not going to be offering his damage here as SoHwan got himself back towards the turret. Call of the Forge God coming through from the Sylas. Is Gorilla going to save OnFleek for now, but SoHwan flashing into the backline, not quite the connections that they were looking for, as that was a decent shockwave, but not enough to actually secure any kills, and Kuro able to abscond his way out of there. And KT, they grab themselves a couple of kills and a Drake, and they save their outer turret mid lane. They claim the outer turret mid lane for themselves on the other side, and it is only good things for KT Rolster.
Yeah, and SANDBOX just looked kind of lost in this game. They're like, well, our arrow engage didn't work, so I guess we're just going to give away the Mountain Drake. Aphelios is too strong. And then they're all like, let's try to get value in the mid lane, but then they see Kennen. They're like, oh, we're kind of trapped now. As Call of the Forge God, the Sylas pick ends up getting a lot of value here. And then everybody's just running away with their tail between their legs after the double knockup from Kuro and his own Call of the Forge God. And it was a fight they were not going to win once aiming got into position as well. He is just unbelievably fed. He's already moving towards his third item. And Ashe is, we'll see what she picks up.
Oh god, hasn't even been back yet. Finally does go home. Runon's is complete, so we're sitting on
finally.
so much gold for that fight. That's it's just poor planning, to be honest, out of the 80 carry from SANDBOX.
They just look a little bit off today. You know? They did look better up against the weaker half of the LCK. And KT was one of those teams that they actually 2-0'd, if you guys do remember, in round 1 only a week ago.
Yeah.
But KT do look like they have turned a new leaf after getting totally bopped by T1. I mean, that was not close.
It wasn't, but actually, I felt like TusiN was having a really off series against T1.
He was, yeah.
This time around, TusiN's looking amazing. Currently, like, I mean, the Blitzcrank was good in game 1, but honestly, the draft was just good. This has been some fantastic Thresh play. I'm glad that Jonah Strong came to.
He's listening.
Yep, just move on over, check him out here. But this has been some vintage TusiN play. You have to remember, you know, like when they did make it to the spring final, I believe in 2017, 2018, it was off the back of TusiN having a phenomenal season. This guy is certainly able to perform. That was when he was alongside Kuro, actually. Him and Kuro both fighting for MVP, as it was known back then, for that particular season. It's good to see him playing well. He's got him a Chaos, as aiming decided to take teleport into Ashe, which is ballsy, to say the least. But now TusiN, with that item completed, no cleanse required.
Yeah. TusiN's whole job, straight from the Thresh pick, was just to save his allies, and that's why the Mikhails is great against this kind of a pick comp, especially the Ashe arrow more so than anything else.
Yep.
And he's got Lantern for everything else, basically, to reposition the Aphelios, who doesn't have too much mobility. And they are just going to be a two-man wrecking crew. Not to mention everybody else on their team who is pretty, you know, pretty fed. They're doing pretty well for themselves right now.
Yep, Dash Cannon completed by SoHwan to augment the Leandris that he's already put together. We'll see whether that's going to be third item Void Staff. That would certainly mean that his job against Summit will be much easier. Yeah, Dash Cannon.
Dash Cannon?
I've been calling Protobelt Dash Cannon for a really long time.
Why is that the first time I've noticed it then? I don't know.
I'm
not
listening
a very good listener, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you just hear differently from this side of the desk.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe I've said so many stupid names for stuff that it sort of just washes off.
Yeah.
Which is probably good. We can see Might of the Ruined King is done for Root. He's got a pickaxe there on top of his first couple of items. Might be an Infinity Edge that he's able to put together next. But aiming, instead of having just a pickaxe, he's got an entire Phantom Dancer. and a hell of a lot of crit.
Yeah.
As Root, yeah, just going to be chunked there a little bit. Doesn't have enough chakrams to make the Aphelios look like the 200 years that we know he can be, but my god, the AoE is doing a lot of work. Volley going to be avoided there with a swift Lantern Ride coming out from TusiN. As bonO fishing for some Qs, and Kuro finds a Super Soaker onto Gorilla. He's a catfish. He's born in the water. He can be absolutely fine. Hook gonna go wide. SoHwan flanking position available, but SANDBOX have themselves set up in their phalanx. The minion waves haven't really been dealt with here on SANDBOX's side. Fate off to the edge. He's looking to contend with the Kennen, who's able to find his way in. Now, Mountain Drake going to spawn. Hook fished for, but avoided by SANDBOX. We're grouped up as 5, ready to get in here. I'm gonna get tagged. We're just gonna immediately start this one up. Positioning of all of SANDBOX is well known here. As I will see whether we make it a 50-50. Box comes through though, as Moonlight Vigil is gonna come down. But Summit throws the ultimate the wrong direction and is actually CC'd before anything else can happen there. Or
that was
that
actually
the hijacked one? Never mind.
That was Kuro.
I'm getting
You're getting owned by Sylas
troll
today.
Oh, man.
And they're not even both using it. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
right?
only one person using it. Oh, man. SANDBOX do look a little bit defeated in this one. They're desperately trying to find an angle to fight over Drakes, but they're giving so many of them away. And you mentioned how much value they could have gotten for their team if they had picked up, you know, 1 or 2 even of these Mountain Drakes, but they're not even being given a chance to hand it over. And even though the Mountain Drake soul will be delayed, this does mean that 3 Mountain Drakes will be given to KT because SANDBOX took the Cloud. And everybody can get their fair share of resistances. The only one who doesn't really have it just yet is Kennen, who looks to be going for some penetration first before a defensive item. But you got Zhonya's ready, you got Death's Dance that's coming in the pipeline for Aphelios. You have the Lee Sin, who does have a nice amount of resistances being built alongside of the Merc Treads. And eventually these players are not going to be very killable, even if you get a good engage down. I mean, who are you going to pick off at this point? You've got Lanterns, you've got Mikhails, you have so many ways to get out of the engage from SANDBOX now from KT. It's fighting uphill in a big way for this team.
I really want to just give player of the game to SoHwan for his item build. Look at that. Goes back.
So smart.
Third item, Void Stuff. Even Summit going to get cut down by this guy. He knows that he's going to be fighting the front line a lot in this game, as Fate's going to have to use his flash once again. Q almost lands there from bonO as well. Is now Baron going to be started? And remember, this is Aphelios. He eats through Baron so quickly. As Kuro, he's got himself a Shockwave.
SoHwan nowhere to be seen right now. SANDBOX definitely have to worry about this Kennen.
Oh yeah, his flank is really scary. As Summit, all right, Arrow gonna pierce the heavens. Looks like outer turret will be claimed here though, as Shockwave pulls back only TusiN. Hook is going to connect onto his opposite number there, and he has to go golden. Good double knock-up, but aiming not exactly going to take too much damage as now Kuro looks for the backline. Shockwave onto one, as there goes the cannon. And look at all of the years coming out of aiming. He's not exactly the main one in this fight, but he's still able to tidy up. Summit, I mean, he's pretty tanky, but it does not matter. As yes, they managed to take down TusiN, but the rest of the team gets obliterated. Aiming, even able to find the Gravitum, and now Root's going to be dead. That's the ace. And KT are looking at a 2-0 to answer SANDBOX here in round 2.
Mr. Years just straightens him up there at the end, thought that he could get away, but then aiming showed Root what was up, snipes him there with the perfect gun duo to come in. And it's a great flank. I feel like SANDBOX kind of baited themselves into this one. They did not clear out the vision behind them. They were very far down the lane. And at least thankfully it wasn't SoHwan. I mean, that would have been even more devastating, but he just comes in through the front door as Kuro comes in through the back, and then aiming is given all the room in the world to just rain down hell from the front as well. And yeah, I mean, SANDBOX at this point are just too far behind. Everybody on the side of KT is so tanky. Doesn't matter that you almost, or that you did kill Gorilla, or not Gorilla, TusiN,
yeah.
on the Thresh. It doesn't really matter. He did a great job baiting everybody on the side of SANDBOX out of position. And that was it.
Yeah, I just love how KT played that team fight as well. Using Kennen to come in alongside the Aphelios, allowing them to fight front to back. It allowed Aiming to just stand right next to the Slicing Maelstrom, and there was no way that SANDBOX could ever get near the Aphelios. So used as damage, but also as that peel potential as well, with Kuro coming through for the flank and actually finding it. Gets the flash out of Root, and that was about all that she wrote as we are comparing the builds between Root and Aiming. Bit rude to Root, to be perfectly honest, as Aiming has been rolling in gold this game. As KT, they will just be moving between the mid lane and the bottom lane. SoHwan dealing with this one pretty comfortably, as Aiming also very happily removes the inner turret in mid from the map. Chain Lash, not really going to do too much, but Kuro has himself a call of the Forge God. Hook is going to connect. TusiN not going to take the ride. It's now KT getting moved away from this area, but Mountain Drake is going to be live. This will be Mountain Soul, and there is no response from SANDBOX. They're going to take this opportunity to finally get the outer turret in mid lane. So congratulations, but still close to 10,000 gold behind. Mountain Soul now means that I don't think a team fight that SANDBOX is going to be able to win. They're going to set up the Fnatic Brush. Maybe if Aiming walks into that by himself.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe, you know? He might even be able to survive.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got Death Stance and Mountain Soul, so
Mr. Ears.
It's going to take a lot to take him down.
Yeah, we're just going to push in here with the Baron buff. They don't...
Wow, that hurt.
Yeah. There's a lot of disruption on the side of SANDBOX. I think they're lacking in damage at this point.
Oh, that's an Ornn as
okay.
Kuro. Never mind.
Yeah,
the sad.
Aww.
It's actually so cute. As Aiming, he does have a lantern he can take, and is going to take it, as Control Ward tried to deny, but he'd already clicked it.
Imagine had that arrow hit.
Yeah.
The immediate Mikhail's lantern. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right?
It's like not even an ability anymore, because the amount of gold that KT are ahead, they are just able to easily get even a Mikhail's ahead here for the support to just nullify one of their main abilities to engage.
Well, Death Crown has been completed for the Orianna, who does scale very well, also with Seraph's Embrace and Spellbinder. It's a lot of damage, a lot of utility, and a lot of farm that Fate has put together. But I just don't know whether it's ever going to be enough against just how ridiculously ahead Aiming is. He's now got a QSS. I mean, Mikhail's wasn't enough, obviously. As Aiming making this Aphelios look like a Varus here this game. Even with the correct gun right there. Good timing.
Yeah. It's Varus because it's purple.
Yep.
And you can root people before level 6, so it's even better than Varus. I suppose it doesn't spread, but the amount of times that Chains of Corruption actually spread is probably lower than 5%. So
yeah, it's not a lot of them that aren't used just for single pick.
Yeah. And we're just kind of waiting for the Elder Drake to spawn. The Baron power play did end, and there's no big objective right now. There's a lot of wave clear on the side of SANDBOX, and again, a lot of disruption. So you can throw out pillars to block them from pushing. You can throw out the Orianna ball to threaten a shockwave. You've got even Ornn's bit of terrain, and so it doesn't look like KT are going to have an easy time just straight up pushing in.
Whoa, shockwave.
Nice damage, Fate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it got the Mountain Drake shield as Aiming. Ooh, he's been walking slightly to the right from abilities. It's been working quite nicely as Moonlight Vigil comes down. Denies it. Oh, okay, never mind. Not denying the damage. Does half the health bar of Root there, as he will be able to tag them. So now Aiming walks up to this turret, and he's going to be able to get a fair bit of damage there.
Yeah, looks like Lee Sin is thinking about his own death stance. Might as well at this point.
It's a pretty cool item. As there's another Ornn from Kuro. Fate going to get knocked up. Hook going to be avoided. Fantastic devour once again from Gorilla, who is just trying so desperately hard to keep his team alive, but unfortunately it's not getting his team objectives.
Yeah. I felt like Gorilla had a pretty good game one in terms of, you know, how much, or how little I should say, he could do. Yeah, that kind of a draft difference. This time around, the bottom lane did get kind of crushed they got teleported on twice by Kuro, who took advantage of their positioning, or mispositioning down there. And they were able to just speed up aiming from so early on in the game that it was kind of doomed for them from very early on in this one.
Yep, aiming is one of the 3 deaths that was picked up by SANDBOX earlier in the game, but has moved back to a maximum gold bounty. I mean, it is a big injection of gold if SANDBOX are able to ever take him down, but with the amount of protection that he has, it is just so rough. And now it looks like Mikhail's is going to be done. Sorry, a Mercurial Scimitar on top of Mikhail's that is already there for aiming. And yeah, he teleports back into the mid lane, 6 items on your Aphelios, and Baron is now available. Watch it melt, I guess. Hawkshot does find out exactly whether or not KT are doing this Baron.
They have double blue trinket at the same time. So if KT did want to start a Baron, I think that SANDBOX would be able to figure it out and potentially fight them around it if they did choose.
Aiming's 5 levels ahead of Gorilla and OnFleek. Level 18 Aphelios.
And level 18 Kennen and Sylas at the same time.
Yeah.
They're so far ahead in this game.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, at least Fate and Summit are very close to that as the hook is going to land there. TusiN decides to go in as bonO is going to tag up Root. Immediate exhaust will deny a lot of that damage as Root's trying to kite this one out. Kuro goes golden. Moonlight Vigil does basically nothing as Summit buys so much time as TusiN finds Fade. He is going to go down, but aiming's going to show him how many years it's going to take them. There's the slicing Maelstrom, but look at Gorilla. He tried just so hard to take care of his AD carry, and in the meantime, aiming's just going to shoot Summit to death. USS is complete, but Flash on cooldown now. And aiming, yeah, I mean, I think he took some damage there, but eventually with his double lifesteal, it's going to go back up to full. And now we're going to see whether KT can just win the game.
Yeah, they're going to try for it here. They don't have any Baron, though, and their minions are pretty low, so they're just going to get to smite it out.
Yeah, well, Summit going to take a lot of damage here. OnFleek dies as an afterthought as aiming. He's going to get to work on these turrets now. Only one Nexus turret remaining here as KT look for the 2-0. As Summit, yeah, he's just going to get pile driven. And 8-1-4 aiming. I think he's looking at back-to-back pogs here. Fantastic performance out of the KT AD.